Nathan Taylor, who is coordinator of Pay the Grants, joins us for more. Nathan, a very good evening to you. Thank you for your time. You are one of the organizations challenging the exclusionary administration of South Africa's Social Relief of Distress grant in court. Perhaps talk to us about the line of argument and the significance of such a move.
Sure. Thank you. I'm going to echo myself. Thank you very much for having us on, Jan. And I think actually the best place to actually first begin is just to say a huge thank you from Pay the Grants and everyone involved in the court case to the massive number of comrades and partner organizations that came out to support us and spoke out in support of the case. It is really heartening to be reminded of what this holds in the hearts and interests of people in South Africa. And so I think for today, it was great to be there. It was great to see what happened. I think our legal team, Siri, did an amazing job in actually putting forth the arguments, clips were actually just being played on the different breakdowns of what we are challenging here. And it comes down to being an extremely comprehensive breakdown in the many different ways that people who are deserving are excluded from the SRD grant in its policy, the way the policy is designed, the way it is regulated, and the way it is administered. And the fact is, even for those that actually can access it, as well as touched on, cannot do anything to survive on it either. So we see a powerful argument being put forward here, and we do appreciate the support for it. I guess one thing I just want to jump in and correct, because I heard that being mentioned, is we're not looking for an unemployed grant. The idea is, because we understand that's exactly where Treasury would like to push this, and that is what we have a very huge concern about. We have this discussion about the job seekers grant. It's a beautiful idea. It rolls off the tongue. It sounds so productive. It sounds, of course, if I'm looking for a job, it would help me. Why would we be against such a thing? Because it's a very simple example of why technocratic policy decision-making is terrible when you exclude people actually affected. Because you have to just ask a simple practical question of how do you prove you're seeking for a job every month? What documents do you have to provide? Considering that they can't even allow you to apply given documents for appeals to show why you rejected for the SRD is valid. How do things like this even work? So we are looking for something much more comprehensive than that.
Nathan, you've long been of the view that South Africa can in fact essentially afford universal basic income grant, and you had made a figure of 1,500 Rand in the past, saying that it is possible. None of it is impossible.
Yeah, I think the fact is we are going to design and define how we run our economy, how we run our society. We take the 1,500 out of a popular meeting, I think in 2022. It's a number that people can relate to and can feel what it would do for you. We prefer obviously a moving target that actually speaks to a standard of living. 1,500 is simply a vision of that. Because the fact is, the issue is when you have 370, beautiful 20 Rand increase since 2020, even though food has increased by 50%, but that's besides the point. 1,500, as soon as you start talking about a bigger figure, people can start imagining what can I actually do with this. And then when we have our president stand up and so on and talk about people opening up ice cream shops, it's not a laughing stock joke, because actually maybe there is something I can do with this figure. Maybe there is something I can build. Maybe there's a community that can start thriving. So yes, we do believe it's possible, and it unfortunately sounds cliche, but it does come down to a simple thing. It's not really a question of whether we can afford a universal basic income, it's whether we can afford not to. Look at where our country sits. Look at what we are doing and how we are running it. Who is this economy for? How can we be sitting at such high unemployment rates? And the idea is, I'm going to give you a job seekers grant. To seek what?
You spoke about the way in which the grant is currently designed. How do you think the SRD grant can now be reorganized to stimulate economic growth while still providing the necessities?
That's a great question. Thank you. So I think this should be debated. This should be actually a part of what is the discussion with the public, the people who work on this, not just behind closed doors, which we do see right now with the policy being done and how this has been done as well as the SRD. So first and foremost, I'm not going to have all the answers, and nobody else in this room is going to either. Consult, talk, get these ideas out there. But very much to why a big part about the UBIC or the idea of universal is the lack of conditionalities. People have this idea of, oh, it will be productive if I make sure you are looking for a job, or if it's only spent on food. The problem is the person getting the money is going to know best how to use it. And whatever people perceive or how we talk about grants in South Africa, which is incredibly insulting and denigrating, actually people know what they need. They know how to improve their lives if they give it the capacity, the capability. So if you're talking about how to improve the SRD, it is definitely removing those conditions, a lot of those conditions. It's understanding how can we allow people to access this. In the SRD itself, assuming that, okay, the SRD is a very limited thing, you have to, the basic thing you have to think is, okay, if this is for the poorest in our country, how does somebody who is in that situation access this? And if you look at everything that SASA puts as barriers, it's tricky to understand how they can take that into account. So we have the UBIC and we have the SRD.
Yeah. The medium-term budget policy is going to be announced by Finance Minister Inoch Godongwana tomorrow. What are your expectations around the grant space?
Do you have an hour to chat?
No, we actually have a few seconds.
Perfect. I think we have a lot to say from Pay the Grants, but we do want to see very quickly is a commitment for funding for the SRD over the medium term, the next 3 years. We want to see that this is a grant that people can actually rely on and not exist within a state of uncertainty and anxiety. So it also needs taken into the Social Regulations Act. But we also want to see in the funding, not just talk in words, but what does this actually do in the pathways to a basic income? We need to show the budget. It's not just the talk. We need to actually show the practical figures on what are we doing. And what we're talking about here is actually additional funding. We're talking about how do we play with the revenue we are having, which actually has been done very brilliantly in this country over the last few years. And so it's not about what do we cut from our school teachers, our hospitals. It's rather how do we build together. So we're hoping for an actual clear commitment to the SRD going forward. And in the actual budget itself, being shown what does this look like? How does it lead towards a pathways to the basic income? How does this combine with the policy that's happening?
Very well. Thank you so much. Thanks for speaking to us this evening and weighing in on this conversation. Nathan Taylor, who's coordinator of Pay the Grants.